James Hartley was a successful construction company owner who had been widowed 3 years ago after his wife's prolonged illness. Colleagues characterized him as a hardworking and honest businessman. Neighbors noted that after his wife's death, James became withdrawn and rarely participated in social activities. Tom Hartley, James' only son, worked as a lawyer at a large firm in Portland. Those around him described him as an ambitious and determined young man. Tom maintained a close relationship with his father, often visiting him on weekends. Lisa Morgan was an administrator at a local fitness center. She grew up in a troubled family and paid for her college education herself. Colleagues spoke of her as a hardworking and sociable person. In early 2019, James Hartley began attending a local fitness center on his doctor's advice. There he met Lisa Morgan, who worked as an administrator. Lisa showed attention to the new client, helping him get familiar with the equipment and create a workout program. Gradually, James and Lisa's communication extended beyond the fitness center. They began meeting at cafes after work, discussing common interests. James felt less lonely for the first time in a long while. Lisa, in turn, found in him an attentive conversationalist. In March 2019, James and Lisa officially started dating. Their relationship developed rapidly. James began appearing in public with Lisa, attending local events and restaurants. Acquaintances noted that he had noticeably transformed. He became more sociable and cheerful. Lisa often visited James's house, helping with cleaning and cooking. She claimed that she enjoyed taking care of James and felt needed. James, in turn, began giving Lisa expensive gifts, jewelry, designer clothes, a new car. In May 2019, James introduced Lisa to his son Tom. The meeting took place during a family dinner at James's house. Tom was surprised to learn about his father's new relationship, especially considering the significant age difference between James and Lisa. During dinner, Tom noticed that Lisa showed an increased interest in his father's business, asking many questions about the company's financial position. This aroused his suspicion. After dinner, Tom tried to discuss his father's new relationship with him, expressing concern about its rapid development. However, James brushed off his son's doubts, stating that for the first time in a long time, he felt truly happy. In June 2019, James announced his decision to make Lisa a partner in his business, arguing that she showed great interest in the construction field and had a fresh perspective on the company's development. This decision caused bewilderment among company employees and serious concern for Tom. After James's decision to include Lisa in the business, Tom began to monitor his father's relationship more closely. He analyzed the company's financial documents, to which he had access as a lawyer, and discovered several large personal expenses of his father related to Lisa. In July 2019, Tom initiated a meeting with his father's longtime friend and financial advisor, Michael Brown. During a confidential conversation, Michael confirmed Tom's fears, reporting a significant increase in James's spending over the past few months. According to Michael, James had withdrawn a large sum from his savings accounts and cashed out several long-term investments. Concerned with the information received, Tom decided to conduct his own investigation. He hired a private detective to gather information about Lisa's past. 2 weeks later, the detective provided a report containing several alarming facts. It turned out that Lisa had a history of short-term relationships with wealthy older men. In 2 cases, she was noticed in suspicious financial transactions, although no official charges were brought against her. In addition, the detective discovered that Lisa had credit card debts of more than $50,000, which were paid off immediately after the start of her relationship with James. In August 2019, Tom tried to talk to his father, presenting him with the collected information. However, James reacted extremely negatively, accusing his son of trying to destroy his happiness and interfering in his personal life. He categorically refused to believe any suspicions about Lisa and demanded that Tom stop the investigation. The conflict between father and son worsened when James announced his intention to rewrite his will, including Lisa as one of the main beneficiaries. Tom perceived this as a direct threat to his inheritance and the future of the family business. In September 2019, Tom made another attempt to convince his father by organizing a family meeting with the participation of his aunt, James's sister. However, Lisa's presence at this meeting led to a heated argument. Lisa accused Tom of jealousy and unwillingness to see his father happy, and James supported her, taking the side of his lover against his own family. After this meeting, the relationship between Tom and James practically ceased. They stopped communicating, except for rare formal contacts on business matters. Tom felt that he was losing control of the situation and could not protect his father from Lisa's alleged manipulation. In October 2019, Tom learned that his father was planning to sell part of the company's assets to invest in a new business project proposed by Lisa. This became the last straw that pushed Tom towards more decisive actions. In early November 2019, Tom decided to take more aggressive measures to protect the interests of the family business. He approached the company's board of directors, presenting evidence of his father's potentially dangerous financial decisions. Tom argued that James's actions, influenced by Lisa, could lead to serious losses and even bankruptcy of the firm. The board of directors, concerned about the information provided, initiated an internal investigation. This angered James, who perceived his son's actions as betrayal and an attempt to remove him from managing his own company. The conflict between father and son reached a critical point. On November 15, 2019, another fierce quarrel occurred between James and Tom in the company office. Witnesses reported hearing screams and the sounds of breaking furniture. After this incident, James temporarily suspended Tom from work at the company, depriving him of access to financial documents and current projects. Lisa, meanwhile, was strengthening her position in the company. She began actively participating in negotiations with clients and partners, introducing herself as the future co-leader of the firm. Some long-term employees expressed dissatisfaction with her growing influence, but were afraid to openly express their opinion, fearing James' anger. At the end of November, Tom learned from his informant in the company that James was planning to make changes to the company's charter that would allow Lisa to obtain a controlling stake. This would mean a complete loss of control over the family business for Tom. In desperation, Tom decided to approach Lisa directly. On December 2, 2019, he arranged a meeting with her at a small cafe on the outskirts of town. During a tense conversation, Tom offered Lisa a large sum of money in exchange for leaving his father and the company. Lisa categorically rejected the offer, stating that her feelings for James were sincere, and accused Tom of trying to destroy his father's happiness. After the failed attempt to negotiate with Lisa, Tom fell into a deep depression. He began abusing alcohol and missing work at his law firm. His colleagues and friends noticed a sharp change in his behavior and emotional state. On December 10, 2019, an event occurred that finally brought the situation out of control. James announced his engagement to Lisa at the corporate Christmas party. He also announced plans for a quick wedding, and that Lisa would be appointed as the company's executive director immediately after the ceremony. This news came as a shock to all present, especially to Tom, who was not invited to the party, but learned about what was happening from sympathetic employees. On the night of December 11th to 12th, 2019, Tom Hartley made a decision that forever changed the fates of all participants in this story. After several hours of alcohol consumption in his apartment, he got behind the wheel of his car and headed to his father's house. Surveillance cameras recorded Tom's car entering the driveway of James Hartley's house at around 11:30 p.m. Tom, staggering, got out of the car and headed for the front door. He rang the doorbell long and persistently until James finally opened. Neighbors reported hearing loud screams and sounds of struggle coming from the Hartley house from about 11:45 p.m. until midnight. None of them called the police, considering it a usual family quarrel. At 12:17 a.m. on December 13th, a call was received by the 911 service from Lisa Morgan. She informed the dispatcher that an attack had occurred in the house and urgently requested police and ambulance. Police arrived at the scene at 12:25 a.m. They found James Hartley lying unconscious in the living room with a serious head injury. Lisa Morgan was next to him, trying to provide first aid. Tom Hartley was sitting in a chair in the corner of the room, not resisting arrest. Paramedics who arrived at the scene pronounced James Hartley dead at 12:43 a.m. The preliminary cause of death was stated as a traumatic brain injury, resulting from a blow with a heavy object. At the crime scene, police found a blood-stained statuette, an award James had received for business achievements. Forensic examination later confirmed that this object was the murder weapon, Tom Hartley was immediately arrested and taken to the police station. During the first interrogation, he was in a state of severe alcohol intoxication and could not give coherent testimony. Lisa Morgan was also detained for questioning as a key witness to the crime. During a search of the house, police found recently signed documents confirming James's intention to change his will in Lisa's favor and transfer a significant portion of company shares to her. These documents became an important element in establishing the motive for the crime. On December 14, 2019, the district attorney charged Tom Hartley with first-degree murder. The basis for such a serious accusation was evidence of the premeditation of Tom's actions, including his arrival at his father's house in an intoxicated state and the use of a heavy object as a murder weapon. News of the tragedy in the Hartley family quickly spread through the town, causing shock and bewilderment among those who knew this family. Local media began actively covering the case, presenting it as a classic story of family conflict, leading to a tragic finale. The investigation into James Hartley's murder continued for several months. Detectives thoroughly examined all aspects of the Hartley family's life, trying to reconstruct a complete picture of the events that led to the tragedy. During the investigation, numerous witnesses were interrogated, including employees of Hartley's company, family friends, and neighbors. Their testimonies confirmed the growing conflict between James and Tom, as well as Lisa Morgan's increasing influence on James's life and business decisions. Financial expertise revealed significant changes in James's expenses since the beginning of his relationship with Lisa. In the last 6 months before the murder, he spent more than $500,000 on gifts and trips with Lisa, which significantly exceeded his usual expenses. Tom Hartley's lawyers built a defense based on temporary insanity caused by stress and alcohol intoxication. They argued that Tom had no intention of killing his father, but only wanted to talk to him, and the situation got out of control. The prosecution, in turn, insisted on the premeditation of the murder, pointing to the history of conflict and financial motive. They presented evidence that Tom could lose his share in the company and a significant part of his inheritance due to his father's plans to change the will in Lisa's favor. Lisa Morgan found herself in the spotlight as a key witness and possible catalyst for events. Her testimony was contradictory. On the one hand, she claimed that she sincerely loved James. On the other, she could not explain some questionable financial transactions and her past. During the investigation, new facts about Lisa's past emerged. It turned out that she indeed had a history of relationships with wealthy older men, after which her financial situation significantly improved. However, no direct evidence of her involvement in any crimes was found. The trial of Tom Hartley began on May 15, 2020, and attracted significant public and media attention. The trial lasted 3 weeks, during which testimony was heard from numerous witnesses, including Lisa Morgan, Hartley Company employees, and expert psychologists. Tom's defense tried to present him as a victim of circumstances, a man driven to despair by his father's actions and Lisa's manipulations. They focused on his impeccable reputation before the start of the conflict and the emotional stress caused by the fear of losing the family heritage. The prosecution, on the contrary, painted a picture of a calculating killer who coldly planned to eliminate his father to maintain control over the company and inheritance. They emphasized the fact of Tom's arrival at his father's house in an intoxicated state and the use of a heavy object as a murder weapon. Lisa Morgan testified in court as a witness for the prosecution. Her testimony was emotional and at times contradictory, which raised doubts among some jurors. Nevertheless, she insisted on her innocence and the sincerity of her feelings for James. On June 5, 2020, the jury delivered its verdict. After 12 hours of deliberation, they found Tom Hartley guilty of manslaughter, rejecting the charge of first-degree murder. This decision meant that the jury believed in the absence of a premeditated intention to kill, but held Tom responsible for his father's death. On June 18, 2020, the sentencing hearing took place. The judge, taking into account all the circumstances of the case and Tom's previously impeccable reputation, sentenced him to 15 years in prison with the possibility of parole after serving 10 years. The sentence evoked a mixed reaction in society. Many considered it too lenient, given the severity of the crime. Others, on the contrary, believed that Tom had become a victim of circumstances and deserved a lighter punishment. After the completion of the trial, a long period of settling inheritance and corporate issues began. The Hartley Company found itself in a difficult position due to the lack of a clear succession plan. Lisa Morgan, despite the unfinished process of changing the will, received a significant part of James's personal fortune. However, her attempts to gain control over the company met resistance from the board of directors and the remaining members of the Hartley family. Over the next year, the company experienced a serious management crisis. The absence of a strong leader and the public scandal led to the loss of several large contracts and a decrease in stock value. Eventually, the board of directors decided to sell the company to a major competitor to avoid bankruptcy. Lisa Morgan, having received a significant inheritance, left the city soon after the completion of all legal procedures. Her further fate remained unknown to the general public, although rumors periodically appeared about her luxurious life in other countries. Tom Hartley began serving his sentence in a state prison. According to prison administration reports, he proved himself to be an exemplary inmate, actively participating in rehabilitation and education programs. His lawyers continued to work on the possibility of early release. The death of James Hartley and the events that followed had a profound impact on the life of the small town of Oakville. Many local residents who knew the Hartley family were in shock for a long time. The story of the family tragedy became the subject of numerous discussions and speculations. The Hartley Company, which had been one of the largest employers in the region for many years, ceased to exist. This led to job losses and an economic downturn in the town. Many former employees were forced to look for work in other cities or retrain. Local authorities, concerned about the negative impact of this story on the town's reputation, initiated a series of programs to improve the social climate and support small businesses. However, the recovery of the economy and the town's reputation proved to be a long and complex process.